frequently I have to say no. Not as much as I should. Not as much as they deserve. As we're talking about here, and he talks about ministering and doing good to others, how many times do we forget about those who are leading? How many times do we forget about them? We think about reaching out to all of those who are out there, all of those who are needy and so forth, and those sort, that sort of thing. But we oftentimes forget about those who are bearing the burden of the actual ministry that's taking place. And that's what Paul's talking about here. Look at verse 6. One who is taught the word, must share all good things with the one who teaches. One who's taught the word must share all good things with the one who teaches. So you have this relationship dynamic between those who lead and teach and those who are taught and led. And the word share is used there. And that's by design. Because it shows us there's a give and take relationship there. But it's so easy as believers to get this mentality that I'm just there to take. That I'm a consumer. And then if I don't like what I can get from that church, and I don't like what they have to give me, I'm going to go to a church that's going to give me what I want. And that's not why we're here. It's not why we're here. God has called believers to express gratitude, thankfulness, to share with the ways that they've been blessed, to share with those that have blessed them, that have taught them, that have led them. And it's so important, and yet so many times we pass over this verse 7 through 10. But it's totally appropriate. He's not just talking about money. He's talking about encouragement, he's talking about ministry, he's talking about doing good in general to those who have the responsibility of serving others, leading others, and helping others. How do we do with that as a church? We do a lot in the community, don't we? Help a lot of people, who are in different situations. We do, all different kinds of people who we minister to. But what do we do to show appreciation and encouragement for those who involve the ministry here as a church? One who has taught the word will share all good things with the one who teaches. Then he moves into 7 through 10. And this is stuff we always jump to, He talks about sharing and that indicating a relationship, support, and encouragement to those who are leading, those who teach. And then he moves into 7 through 10, and many of us are familiar with these verses, and we know these verses, but they're repeating today as we talk about ministering to others and doing good to others. He moves in verse 7, he leads into this. Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap. Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap. He introduces the idea of the sowing and reaping principle, which we find in Scripture, but also what we find in life, don't we? Is not life, do you not get out of life what you put into it? Is the same not said of church? Ultimately, myself as pastor, other leaders, the people who come here every Sunday, those who work in the different ministries, if we take the time to complain about how things are going, we cannot do that until we've effectively asked the question first, what am I doing to be a part of the solution? What am I doing to make things better? What am I doing to grow the kingdom of Christ? How am I letting God use me? It's really easy for us to get hung up on what we don't like, isn't it? And I'm here to tell you today, no matter what church you go to, if you look hard enough, you will find something that you don't like. Everywhere. Because there's no perfect church. Because it's made up of people. It's made up of people, imperfect people. And yet, God uses us for some reason. I ask myself this all the time, God, why do you use us? Why do you use me? Why do you use people? But he does. Imperfect people. No matter where you go. He wants to use us. And ultimately, we get out of church what we put into it. And we need to ask ourselves, what am I doing? What am I sowing? To see the kind of fruit that's being born where I am. Do not be deceived, guys. Do not be deceived. Self-delusion. We're all deluded. We're all deluded. It's funny, you can think a certain way about yourself and then ask 100 people what they think about you, and it's amazing how different that will be. Right? Because we are all self-deluded. And sometimes we can get in this mentality where we lose sight of what's really taking place. And Paul is warning us here, don't be deceived, don't be self-deluded. And we see this even in ministry, don't we? Sometimes we can get into this rut, get this mentality where we're like, okay, I know there's this need. I know there's this place where I can serve. There's this place where I can minister. There's something I can do. Maybe I don't say anything about it. I'm talking about it. Or I just make sure I leave right away when church is over. If you ask me, and then it'll just go away. Like there won't be that need anymore. But that's not the way it works. Don't be deceived. Don't be self-deluded. God has something He wants you to do, and if there's a need that you can meet, you should strive to meet that need. Because that's why God saved you. He delivered you for a relationship with Him, and then ultimately to live out that relationship. Don't be deceived. Needs that we can meet, ways that we can invest in the kingdom, ways that we can sow in the kingdom, don't just go away when we ignore them and pretend like they don't exist. And it's amazing. It's not only in church, in life in general. Whatever you sow, you do reap. Because it's not the case in every aspect of life. In your job. Do you not get out of your job what you put into it? Sometimes we want to just show up to work, or get in this rut in work, just like we do at church, where we show up, we go through the motions, we watch the clock, and then we move on, right? And then we wonder why things aren't going better. And maybe it's our families, where we're just trying to survive, but we don't actually think about proactively sharing the Lord with our kids or other family members. And then we wonder why things are just not the way they should be. It's just, but we all do it. We can't pour ourselves into everything else in life except God, ministry to others, and then wonder why He doesn't bless us. But we do it, don't we? I'm so busy going here, I'm so busy going there, I'm so busy pouring myself into all this and all that. And then I ask God, what's going on? Why aren't things working out for me? Why is so-and-so doing this? When we haven't done anything at all to be a testimony to God in their lives. When we do that, we pour ourselves into so many other things, and then we expect God just to come through and save the day. Why should He? Why should He? What we sow, we reap. What we sow, we reap. Choices and consequences. It matters if we choose to minister, because every single choice we make in life, whether it's to minister to others or not, has consequences. Every time we let opportunities pass us by, every time we see a place where God can use us, and we go, maybe somebody else has personality for that. I don't know if I can do that. God, I don't know if I can be stretched that way. Oh, that's going to hurt, God. Why does it have to hurt? It's supposed to be easy. And every time we say that, every time we do that, every time we just ignore what's happening, we don't do everything that we can to be used with God to meet a need, there are consequences. It's like every other aspect and arena in life. There's a great community organization, called Teen Idea Challenge. They travel around to malls and different places. This particular one took place out east in the Maryland, Washington area. But Teen Idea Challenge goes to the malls, and what they do is they deliberately, intentionally set up these different booths and different activities and so forth to expose teenagers to the fact that choices have consequences. They have an STD wheel. Okay. So what they do is they have the teenagers spin the wheel, and then they have they have a nurse there who specializes in communicably transmissible diseases. Say that 3 times fast, right? Communicably transmissible disease. I can't say it. You know what I'm talking about. But they spin the wheel, and then when I was reading the article, the nurse there said, "Oh, you woke up with chlamydia this morning," and she said, "Well, at least that's treatable." But it gives them an idea of the fact that when you make choices, no matter what they are, there are consequences. In many schools, in some health classes and so forth, they have them do like the baby where they take it home for a couple days, or they have them where the pregnant belly or whatever, they have that there. And then this one is actually a picture of beer goggles. You hear jokes about beer goggles. They see the world differently, obviously, when you're inebriated. What they have to do is put beer